think I'm sitting on like 150,000
Wonderful.
points.
There's a lot of places you can go with that.
What do I do
Where
with
do you want to
those?
go?
Yeah, take me anywhere
Yeah.
warm right now. Everyone, I'm Josh. This is the In Your Corner podcast from CBS News Philadelphia, where we are all about finding you practical ways to save money and just be smarter with your financial decisions. And that includes travel, too, because I think we could all use vacation right about now. But what if I told you that there was a way to never pay full price again for your flights or hotels? Well, you're probably familiar with credit card points and miles. Those are the things you earn by spending the money you're already going to spend, and then you use those in exchange to purchase other things. Well, for those trying to stick to a budget in the new year, it could be an easy way not to break the bank on a vacation if you know how to maximize those points. Because let's face it, if you are anything like me, you're probably wondering, are you really getting the best bang for your buck here? Well, here to help us out, share some of his tricks of the trade to getting the most out of your miles is Brian Keith, aka BryGuides. Thanks for being here, Brian.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Brian travels the world while cashing in on some fantastic deals if you follow him on Instagram. He is the founder of BryGuides. It's a website and service to help you maximize your points and miles to travel better for less.
Thank you so much for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Brian, you're a local too, which we love.
Yes, indeed. Pennsylvania, born and raised. It's always great to come back no matter where in the world I go. I always love to be back in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia.
Penn State grad too, right?
Penn State, we are.
So, as I said, if anyone follows your Instagram, they know you are somewhere in the world every time I see you somewhere else. Lucky enough that we could actually catch you while you were here. This is a rare occasion.
It's really wonderful. So I was back for the holidays, ended up sticking around a little bit longer. My mom's getting foot surgery, so we're helping her heal from that.
Like a good son.
Yeah, well, trust me, I'm definitely on the low end of the karma totem pole, but we're slowly inching our way back.
Whatever you could do to claw your way back up, you know? Okay, so this fascinates me. I think you describe yourself too as a digital nomad. You're like living the dream of so many people that you literally travel for work, but like the fun kind of travel for work.
Absolutely.
I mean, you started your own company. Where did this all start?
Yeah, absolutely. So it started a long time ago. You know, I went to Penn State. I worked in finance for many years. My background was in that. I was living in New York City for a decade and working in tech and finance and helping companies go public. It was very intense. So I was working very long hours, long weeks. And I used travel as a way to kind of, take a pause, take a break from some of that really intense work. And so the time that work would leave me alone is when I was out of the country. So naturally, I was out of the country quite a bit. And so that was getting expensive. You know, New York rent wasn't getting any lower. And I said, how can I take this passion, this travel of mine? You know, I studied abroad in college. I knew that I was really passionate about intercultural exchange and learning from other people. Wanted to take that passion, but also still be able to do it and save money. So in came credit card points. I became obsessed with finding the best deals. And then once you start to just not only find the deals, you realize you can actually travel a lot better for the same amount out of pocket, if not considerably less, when you learn these programs. So I was doing this for myself, and the turning point kind of came because I started helping friends and family also maximize these things. And
You're like, hey, I could make some money off of this.
Well, yeah, the turning point came when a group of friends and I wanted to travel we were going to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for Carnival, and then Patagonia as well. So we were going during peak travel
Casual.
time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was quite the trip. I mean, this was on the top two things on my bucket list for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so we were so close to doing it. We got everyone to align on the dates, which if you've ever traveled with friends before,
It's tough.
That's the hardest
Yeah.
part. So then the issue was that the flights were going to be very expensive for those days. And, it was going to be, I think, over $2,000 for the flight path that we wanted. And, everyone's like, I really want to do this, but that's just not something I can take on right now. And I said, hold on. Let me see if I can find us a better flight deal. And so I scurried off into the internet and I found two really good transfer options to use the points. And then I went back to our friend group and I said, hey, does everyone have, 40 or 50,000 credit card points in these categories that we could use right now? And everyone said yes. And I said, jump on a call right now. We're going to book this. We booked it. They're like, how on earth did you do that? I feel like I just stole that flight. I was like, no, this is a really valid strategy of using your points smarter to transfer and book directly with the airlines and using some partner airlines as well. And so we had the trip of a lifetime that I will remember that trip for the rest of my life. And they told me, you should really help people start doing this.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, what dollar value would you place on the service that I just provided? And they told me, I said, right. You're right.
Check.
I should be doing this because this is something I can do. So I started posting about it on social media, and one thing led to another. And I, left my corporate job a year and almost a half ago and have been traveling the world full time while building this business. And yeah, it's been quite an adventure.
It's incredible. And, I think a lot of people have these credit cards and don't quite know what to do with them. I mean, myself kind of included. I have this aspirational idea of what I'm going to do with all these points, but then when push comes to shove, it's like, Is that actually worth it?" And for me, I got in probably almost 10 years ago at this point. I
Yeah.
like seriously got into
Mhm.
it, and seeing these different credit cards and trying to maximize some of these rewards programs. I would be remiss though, before we go on, just because this is a consumer financial podcast, a consumer reporter here. Disclaimer: none of this is really truly worth it if you are not utilizing these credit cards in a way where you are not carrying huge balances, you are
Yes.
not carrying high interest payments each month. So let's just state that,
Incredibly important.
because that'll eliminate any sort of savings.
Yes.
But done correctly, there are some big benefits that you can unlock.
Absolutely. And the credit hygiene stuff you mentioned is so incredibly important. I think, I treat all of these cards like a debit card. I pay them off in full every month because if you are carrying a balance and you're getting hit with those interest payments, the benefit that you're going to be getting from credit card points and miles is going to be wiped out by that. So very important to have incredibly good credit hygiene, setting up auto pay so it doesn't impact your credit score. These are, things I work through with my clients all the time, and it's very, very important because these are wonderful tools, but should be used very responsibly.
They'll break you, yeah, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
use them correctly. And a lot of these cards, some of the better ones, do carry annual fees too that you're paying on top. So you don't want to be paying anything more than you need to. Now, you not only will find people deals, I love this too. You will teach people to actually find them for themselves. So you offer like different classes and things.
Absolutely. So I try to meet people where they are, and I go by what people are asking for. And I think you made a point just a moment ago of saying like you're never really sure if it's a great deal. And so one of the things that I teach people and work with people one-on-one on is basically how to know if it's a great deal. And so there's two different types of people that I usually work with. One that want to learn and they want to, have that knowledge so that they can go out, find and book these deals. And so I have lots of trainings and courses and even a masterclass that walks them through kind of what that looks like, is how do you go out and find the deals? What are the tools that are, useful? And how can you discern if something is a great deal or not?
Okay.
And a lot of people too, they just it's a lot of information. This is a complicated space. There are hundreds of credit cards in the US market. And I think that's actually one of the best things for us because with so much competition, they're always trying to one up one another. And that's how we get to this really great level of rewards that we have. But with that, sometimes it feels like you need a PhD to understand this stuff.
Or at the very least, an Excel spreadsheet.
Very that. And look, I do this full time, and there's been announcements this week that I'm having trouble keeping up with. So it's a lot of information, and it's going to be different for every consumer. So I always try to help people figure out, what is the right mix for you, and how to ultimately figure out what the best kind of deal is that you're kind of looking for.
So let's start. I mean, very basic kind of 101 here. Let's start for those who maybe don't even have one of these rewards credit cards. They want to dabble a little.
Of course.
Where do you start? How do you choose a card? Because like you said, there are so many out there with so many different kinds of benefits.
Of course. And I think the first thing you want to align on are what are your goals for this card and what are your goals for the rewards you're trying to get out of this? Because depending on what those are, there's lots of different categories. There are cards that get you great percentage back for cash back. That's a wonderful option for many people. For me specifically, and what I work with a lot of clients and people on, is maximizing points for the travel space. And so when you're looking at that, you want to get a card that's going to have flexible rewards. And so what I usually call it is a transferable points currency, right? So you want to be earning points in a card that is going to enable you not only to book within that cards tool, but then transfer them out and book with lots of other different partners. And so often these cards that are going to come with some of the more robust options might have an annual fee. There are ones that have low annual fees, usually, around like $100. But with that, you're able to take those points and transfer them out. And then you get a significantly better value for those points versus booking in the cards tool.
And are you also talking to not necessarily doing like a specific branded card, a specific airline, specific hotel branded card necessarily? Or?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And sometimes specific airline branded credit cards work really well for certain people. I think if you are living in a place with a hub or you are super brand loyal to something or if you're traveling a lot for work, but you have to remember a lot of times people are taking 1 or 2 trips a year and then they're going for, airline loyalty. And you're competing with a consultant who's traveling every month of every week, frankly.
Can't compete.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to get to the level of rewards with that. So what tends to be a better option for many consumers, right, is going with a broad card that has, flexible points, that maybe the best deal is with this airline or that airline, and you have the ability to then take those points, transfer them between a dozen different partners rather than being just locked into one. Because a lot of these cards too will have a sign-on bonus, right? So if you spend, a couple $1,000s in the first few months, you get a significant sign-on bonus that can be really powerful when it comes to then time to make that first travel redemption.
What do you mean when you talk about sign-on bonuses?
So oftentimes cards, particularly the premium travel cards, are going to offer, if you spend, let's say $4,000 is a popular bucket. Like if you spend $4,000 in the first, 3 to 5 months of a card opening, we're going to give you 60, 75,000 bonus points.
Okay.
Right. And so with those points, that's usually often enough to book. If you redeem those kind of for cash, kind of that standard redemption, it's 1 cent per point. So 75,000 points in this example would be $750.
Okay.
Now, this is where it starts to get fun. If you take those points and transfer them out, you can make them worth 2, 3, 5, even up to 10x if you're really, really good at this. Now, granted, those deals don't happen all the time, but something that I work with a lot of people.
You got to know where to look for those deals.
Exactly, yes.
So once you've got the sign-up bonus, is that really kind of in terms of introductory offers, is that the most common thing that you're going to come across with these credit cards?
It's a great place to start, and it's a great place to, if you're interested in getting into this space, choosing a card with a sign-on bonus is going to be that like nice hit of like excitement right from the jump, where you'll actually be able to see the benefit that comes with spending on these cards.
So then as you're spending on these cards, different cards offer different amounts of points per dollar, right? Is that the other kind of big game to figure out? Okay.
So that's where it gets really important as well. So you're not only going to want to choose a card based on which one has a large sign-on bonus, because that's a little short-sighted. It's going to be important to pick a card that's going to reward you based on where you specifically are spending a lot of money. So if you're, a family of 4 that's spending a lot on groceries, there are cards that give you 2, 3, 4x in that category. So you're getting double, triple, quadruple the points every time you spend in that category.
So like something that you're already doing, right? You're already grocery shopping every week.
Yep.
Might as well, what are those point multipliers, exactly. I think is what they call them, right? So you could have, your grocery store, gas station, restaurants is another big one, right?
You want to align what you're already spending money on. And if you're not already keeping track of an annual budget, there's lots of wonderful apps to kind of help you do that.
Please do keep track of your
Yeah, I mean, come on, we're here on this segment. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably way ahead on this, right? But for those that maybe aren't, this is a great way. Just take a look at what you're already spending and then pick a card that's going to reward you for those categories. Because ultimately what we're trying to do is take the money that you're already spending, no matter what, taking it from a debit card that's doing nothing for you, a credit card that maybe is getting you minimal rewards, right? And then taking that and getting significantly more from not doing anything different, from just continuing to spend the money you already are.
Thank you. And that's a really important point too. This shouldn't be something where you're going out of your way or significantly changing your habits to take advantage and reap these rewards, right? And I find that that's a trap that maybe some people feel like they fall into is they're like, well, we got to spend more. And it's like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. It's money that you wouldn't have spent anyways. And then what does that do in terms of the savings in the end, right?
Absolutely. And that's why that credit hygiene that we talked about at the beginning becomes very important, right? Because these rewards and the bonus points, all of this stuff is great. But if you start paying, a really high interest rate, in the high double digits, right? For these types of things, the savings and the rewards will quickly wipe themselves out.
And as we've talked about on this podcast, interest rates right now on credit cards are disgustingly high, 20+%. If you're lucky, that's like the low end. So, and that will just, again, wipe out any sort of savings here. Okay, so you're looking at sign-up bonuses. You're looking at point multipliers. Then when it comes to actually shopping and buying things, if maybe the card maximizes restaurants or groceries, but are there other ways too to look for, I guess, bonus points?
Yeah, absolutely. So depending on, which cards you're using or where you're shopping, there's a lot of marketplaces online where you can, click a link to Rakuten is one, or maybe American Airlines has another one. And, for you Philly folks, that might be a really good one to think about as well. Where if you just click onto another site before you do your online shopping at Lululemon, at wherever you're buying things today, you're going to get bonus points by going through one of these online portal providers. So that's another great way to get a lot of bonus points on money you're already spending. So you're getting points not only from the purchase that you're making on the card, but then additional points, double dipping, they call it in the industry, on points just by, going through one of these online marketplaces.
And these will frequently change too, right? The different cards might offer different point multipliers for different brands.
Yep.
Speaking from experience with Rakuten, it literally
Yeah.
is whatever site you want to use to shop. You just have to first log on to Rakuten,
Yeah.
find that site, right? And as long as you go through that link,
Mhm.
it's easy peasy, and that's how you earn the rewards.
Yeah, and Rakuten's really great because you can convert the cashback rewards into Amex points, which is one that I particularly love to have in my wallet. And for Rakuten, for example, on Black Friday, they'll announce all of these things where you're getting 15 to 20x the rewards that you normally would. So really powerful stuff when you start to kind of stack, your card that earns points with the bonus points, and then when it comes time to redeem them, if you're smart about how you redeem them,
Yeah.
you can have a lot of fun with this.
Okay, you've picked the card.
Yeah.
You've chosen the one that you think is going to work best for you. Now, you've accumulated all these miles.
Yeah.
I think I'm sitting on like 150,000
Wonderful.
points.
There's a lot of places you can go with that.
What do I do?
Where
with
do you want to
those?
go?
Yeah, take me anywhere
Yeah.
warm right now. How
Of
about that?
course.
Yeah,
I'll
let's
tell
start
you what.
there.
Yeah, that cold on the way in this morning, it's brutal out there.
It's the kind that like hurts your face.
It hurts. It just hurts. You feel it in your bones. So
Yes.
if you're trying to get out of here,
Let's do a beach. Take me to a beach.
Yeah.
150,000. Is that a lot? Is that a good amount?
so with the 150,000, there's a lot of places on Earth you can go. Now, the key difference is those points can be worth $1,500, which is kind of that standard redemption, the 1 cent per point, right?
Okay.
So that could get you one flight to some random Caribbean nation that has a very high kind of flight price.
Okay.
Now, the other thing is those points can be worth a lot more depending on how you redeem them. So a good kind of place to start whenever you are, having points and it comes time to redeem them is figuring out where do you want to go, what kind of matters to you. So for this case, we want to get you somewhere warm.
Yes, please.
And so, yeah, absolutely. And so the first place we're going to look at is, what does it cost, from a cash perspective to get there? So looking at whether it's Google Flights or if you're looking at a specific airline, sometimes they might have a better price. I like Google Flights personally myself because it's going to show you all of the different, cash prices for that.
It's a good one-stop shop.
Absolutely. And so that's kind of your baseline. So I would consider that, a baseline, but I wouldn't necessarily run and book there because where it can get really more interesting and fun is sometimes, that, flight price to let's pick a random island. Pick an island.
Take me to like St. Bart's or something.
Okay, St. Bart's is
yeah,
a great
yeah.
example because it's a complicated. There's no directs from
That's
Philly to
right.
get there. You're
Yes.
gonna have to fly to probably San Juan and then take a cute little puddle jumper over there. So that is going to be something that's more expensive, right? So what you'll want to think about is if you go and book the cash price for $1,400, we'll use all of your points. But maybe right now, with one of your credit cards, you can transfer the points to American or to Chase that has a great deal to Puerto Rico for only 10, 15, 20,000 points, right? And so by doing that one step of taking your credit card points and then transferring them directly to the airline and booking directly with the airline instead rather than tied to that cash fare, you can save 90% of your points just by doing this one step. And so this is where, and I see the wheels turning over there, this is where it gets complicated, right? So oftentimes when an airline prices a flight, there's going to be two different prices. There's the cash fare, which is going to be, whatever you would go in and pay if you were paying cash. And then they're also going to have a mileage price, right? And so oftentimes the mileage price is significantly higher. And so what you want to do is figure out where there are discrepancies, right? Where the points price, the award fare, is significantly lower than the cash price. And then when you have points in these, flexible rewards or transferable points currencies, you can take them from an area where you're getting a higher multiplier for each of the things that you're spending on, move them in to take advantage of that lower award fare price, and then book that for significant savings versus the cash fare.
You can see why people would hire someone like you.
Sometimes it's more complicated, sometimes it's less complicated, right? For your St. Bart's example, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you want to fly direct from Philadelphia to St. Bart's, right? And you're going to have to go through Puerto Rico. And there's only one direct flight from Philadelphia to San Juan or something. So based on what flight routes are available, it gets a little bit, easier to kind of sift through these deals. But yes.
Well, is that also too maybe a lesson in sometimes it's better to plan your travel around the rewards and options that are out there versus choosing a destination first and then trying to figure out how to get there?
Well, actually, you bring up a good point. And I talk to a lot of my clients about this. I say, follow the deal, not the destination. right? So oftentimes, you can fly to a place. Let's say you want to go to Europe, right? And let's say Italy is a really, really popular destination. Well, the flight prices to Italy reflect that. But if you fly instead to London or Paris, right, you're going to there's significantly more flights.
Yes.
There's significantly more competition. You're going to have a much lower price point. And I mean, who wouldn't love?
I mean, it's still not,
Yeah,
it's nothing to sneeze at, right?
a
Yeah.
day. Oh no, we have to spend a
Oh,
day in
I
Paris
had to
on the way to
settle for
Italy.
Paris. Yeah.
And you're going to save, 50% of your flight, or maybe find a significantly better business class flight deal, using your points doing that. So this is where it starts to get, really fun. And when you start to, combine these different opportunities with, where the best deal is, and then ultimately still going to your preferred destination, but being smart about how and where you book and fly there, you can unlock a lot of savings and really increase the quality of your travel. Where, for this example, right, flying to Paris, you might have that would cost, let's say $800 in economy. But if you book with Air France, who routinely has, sale fares of 60 to 100,000 points, right, you're able to book a business class flight for the equivalent same amount of points that you would pay for an economy ticket by just doing that one step of taking those points, transferring them, and booking directly with someone like Air France.
Well, let me tell you, once you fly business,
Dangerous game.
it's hard to go back.
It's a dangerous game.
Especially when you're going, in a transatlantic flight like that, because it makes a big difference. And you'd be surprised, though, that, you can find some really good deals on those if you know where to look and when to look, too.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's great advice in terms of following the deal, not the destination, because you can get yourself so locked into, I want to go here, figure out a way to get there, and maybe you're actually cutting yourself off to, potential savings simply by, so like to your point, okay, so you take a flight to Paris.
Yep.
Once you're in Europe, then there are a multitude of ways that you could finish the rest of the trip, right? And then maybe you get a couple days somewhere where you didn't expect.
Exactly. And so this is a really fun way to not only save a bunch of money on your flight, to increase your chances of using the credit card points you already have to fly in business class rather than being in economy overnight.
Yes.
And then additionally explore a new city that maybe wasn't on your radar, or one that you've been to that you get to go back and explore again.
Yeah, I mean,
because if you need some Paris recs, I mean,
I will take them. It's been a while since I've been there, so I will take it. Okay, so you offer sort of a master class in this. If I'm signing up for this class, what does that actually look like? Is this a really intensive like college course, or what are we talking about?
No, so it's a guided course where basically I walk you through the different things. There's a bunch of different sections where we talk about, this is the lay of the land. These are the main points, programs, card providers, things that are going to things you want to be considering.
Okay.
This is how those programs work together. These are the cards, rewards, and programs that work really well based on how and where you want to travel. And then what I do in the latter sections is I marry up those knowledge of what the cards are, what the different programs are, and help the consumer figure out, if I'm flying to Europe, these are the right ways to kind of use points, or these are where some of the sweet spots are. And so it is about 10 to 12 hours of overall content. So it is a time investment, right? To understand this, you do have to spend some time, right? Because there's a lot of different pieces, right? You have to understand the cards. You have to understand the airlines, how the partnerships all work together in order to do this.
And they're constantly changing.
Always.
There's always some kind of different benefit, or just keeping up with all that. And does your course reflect that these are constantly changing too?
Yeah, so it's tough to keep up with the amount that changes, but I do regular, updates to make sure that, we're staying current. And then wherever things might not be current, I'm always, making sure anything that's talking about specific cards, I'm saying this is recorded on this date. Check before you go applying.
I'm going to put you on the spot because I had just recently read that it's better bang for your buck to use points on hotels rather than flights.
Interesting.
Is there any truth to that?
Well, it can be.
Okay.
Overall, that I wouldn't agree with that sentiment.
Okay.
I would say in general, the best bang for your buck for your points, particularly in a transferable points currency, would be international flights, particularly in business class.
Okay.
Below that, I would rank international long-haul flights in economy. And then I would put hotels actually below that. But hotels versus domestic travel, I would say, can be kind of interchangeable. I would say the strongest redemption for hotel points would be Hyatt. I think Hyatt has the strongest, most powerful point programs where you could book, 5-star hotels in New York for under 30,000 points a night, which are really, really nice. There are some really nice sweet spot redemptions, particularly if you're looking for a warm weather, escape in Mexico.
Yeah.
But, the other thing that it's really important to keep in mind is every year, these programs are changing. So an important thing I always talk to my clients about is not hoarding your points.
Guilty.
Yeah, because every year those points, like any currency, right? Things get less valuable over time, right? They raise the price for, this hotel rather than costing 25,000 went up to 27,000 points now. And this flight, they increase the price of what it takes to redeem them. So it's important that you're not holding on to them for, too long, right? Because a point today is going to be worth more than a point a year from now. And so something to just kind of keep in mind, it doesn't mean spend it right away, right?
Sure.
But if there's something that you want to do that's a good value, especially when you compare to the cash price, don't hesitate, because that's going to be, they more than likely will become worth less over time.
That's good. Yeah, don't sit there admiring your big bonus balance,
Yeah.
because I'm guilty of that. And then you realize that when the prices go up, the points aren't going to match that.
I think the number one thing that I hear from consumers is they just don't know if it's a good deal. It's hard for people to tell whether, should I actually use my points on this? Is it a good deal or not? And a lot of the conversations I have with people are just like, yep, good deal, or no, not a good deal. Because, I work with a lot of students that know how to find the deals themselves. And, I have some wonderful charts in the education
Love
materials
charts,
that help, with that. But sometimes they're just like, hey, man, I found this. What do you think? And
Keep
I
it
was like,
simple,
yeah.
right? Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Great question. Probably if I had to pick one would be Brazil, specifically Rio de Janeiro.
Ooh, okay.
There's something very special about that place.
We'll have to talk because we're considering a South American trip here
Oh,
this
you
year.
should.
So
It's beautiful.
what's the place you're looking forward to this year traveling to?
So I am heading to Southeast Asia in a couple weeks here, and I'm very, very excited to go to the Philippines, which is somewhere that's been on my bucket list for a long time. I love to scuba dive, so there's going to be some really amazing marine life and scuba diving that I'm looking forward to this year. And then another destination, which I've been told by many, many travelers, that is, something, especially if I personally love Rio de Janeiro because it has my top 3 favorite things. It's a proper city where there's everything you could ever want from a city. Love cities, lived in New York for many years. From this area, right? Understand the benefits of being near a major city.
Yes.
Beautiful beaches. Love Philly. I mean,
Well,
you
we
have the
don't-
shore.
yeah,
You have the
we have
shore.
the shore,
down the
but-
shore. But you have to. It's a journey to get there,
Sure,
right?
sure.
In Rio, it's right there.
Perfect.
And then mountains and hiking.
Okay.
There's beautiful. All 3 of those things are kind of in one place. And the place that I'm really looking forward to that I'll be visiting this year that also has that is Cape Town, South Africa.
Oh, fantastic. Another place. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about. You can always follow Brian on his Instagram to keep up with all of his travels. Brian Keith, thank you so much for joining us here today. A lot of really good tips and insight. Brian Keith, founder of BryGuides. It's a website and service to help you maximize your points and miles to travel better for less. The nomadic traveler. Jetting off again after this.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Good to meet you. Thank you.
Lovely to meet you as well.